friends, it's Becky, and today I want to make some earrings with some beads and findings that I got from the Sunshine USA collection. It's a Jesse James Beads collection, and I'm really excited to work with them because, I mean, gosh, look at this. It is so gorgeous and beautiful. But just a little bit of information about the collections. They're kind of like a la carte bead box, you know, the magical mystery bead box. I'm a subscriber to it. You've seen my unboxings here on my channel. I love it because it's a mystery, because I love surprises and I love having a curated experience of beads that are meant to go together, that tell a story, that do that sort of thing. But when Jesse James Beads does the collections, it's telling a story. It's curated things, but you already know what there's going to be ahead of time, and you can pick and choose which things you want. So for people who don't like surprises, or who are like, I love the bead strand, don't like these, I'm just going to get the bead strand, or something like that, it's a fantastic way to still get that curated experience, to still get that story that you can tell with beads that Jesse James Beads does so well. But not have to worry about what if I don't like it when you do that. So I'm going to be making some things with these as we go through this. It is currently available at the Jesse James Beads website. Let me show you which parts we're going to be using, and then the tools, and then we'll get started making some stuff. And I mean, earrings was what my brain first went to when I saw these, and it's where we're gonna go with this. I also have other plans for some of the other parts of the collection that I got. But this bead strand that I showed you really briefly, this is the Miami Beach bead strand, and I love these bohos with the polymer clay flowers on them. And then we've got some lucite beads with some of the big floral bead caps, some of these sparkly cube beads, and then of course some rhinestone pave, or is it pave beads? I don't know. And then we've got some other little pearls hiding inside these bead caps. So it's a really fun bead strand to be able to make stuff with. And then they've got boho bead pairs too. Like this is a smaller one, and it is the sea glass bead pair set. And then this one, these are some chonkers, and they are sparkly and beautiful. Look at that glass. But yeah, these are the Bel Air Beach ones. And like the Sunshine USA, like the story that it's telling us is beachside, like 1950s, we're traveling back in time, like Miami Beach, Bel Air Beach, all of these other things. It's beachy vibes, and that's why we've got like coral pinks rather than like super pinky pinks that we're dealing with. But then we've got, you know, our light pastel teals and our baby blues. It's really, really a fun color palette to be able to create with, I think. And then we've got other things, like there's bead selections that they've got in here. These are some, they feel like acrylic. They might be lucite. I think they're probably acrylic. I don't know. But there are some of these leaf beads that have a top drilled hole. And there's just a whole set of those. I'm going to be putting links to each of these in the description below if you want to grab some of them when you do that. What was the name of this? Oh, it's Pink Reef is what this is called. And then they've got some cord. It's like, it's 5mm like paracord, and it's a cord set. It comes with some glue-in ends for you to be able to do stuff with. I'm going to be making a connector out of some of this cord that I'm going to use in the earrings. I went ahead and glued this one ahead of time so that you didn't have to wait overnight with me for those ends to get glued in. But yeah, so those are the bits and pieces from the collection that I'm going to be using. Oh, I forgot about these. The rattan focals. It's just a pair of these, and I think that they would be amazing bead frames. So we're going to be using them in some earrings. They are so lightweight, and if I pair them with one of these big chunky, like polymer clay beads, it's going to be lightweight, impactful, ginormous earrings, and it's going to look great. I'm really excited about that. Some things that I'm adding is I've got some ear wires already made up. I've got some fancy head pins, and I'm going to be using some 26 gauge wire and some 20 gauge wire in 2 different colors. for some of these earrings. For tools, I've got my wire working tools like my 6-step veil making pliers, some round nose pliers, some chain nose pliers, and some flush cutters. And when it comes time to glue my little bits of cord in, I am going to be using some E6000 Plus, and I am really excited to share this with you guys. I didn't know this existed until I went looking for some glue that I could use around my sister, because she's got the worst superpower ever. She smells things that regular normal humans cannot, and oftentimes they smell horrible to her. So the fact that this was low odor, I was hoping that I could use it to glue some ends on some stretch bracelets that I was making with my mom and my sister when I was visiting, and I used this and it is fantastic. I could use it in the same room as her. She didn't even smell it. It's really great, and it holds really well. So I'm going to be using this for my glue when it comes time to glue in my ends on that. Because it's paracord, you're going to need like a lighter, something to burn down those ends, because it ships with the ends wrapped up in some tape, which you can remove, but it frays really easy. So to make it more workable, and also to make it so that you can fit it into the end cap a little bit better, I just want to burn down those ends. So I've got a little lighter for that I'm going to be using. All right, let's get started. I think the first thing that I want to do, and I'm going to move this out of the way, or maybe we'll start with those. Nope, let's open up our bead strand before we start any of the other stuff. I'm just moving these out of the way so my camera doesn't get confused and think that I want to focus on them instead of the things that I really want to focus on, which is this bead strand. Let's open it up and look at all of the different bits that are on it, and then I will choose what I'm going to be using in my earrings off of this strand. So I am definitely going to be using these guys inside here, and I think I'm going to need a couple of buffer beads in there. So maybe some of these heishis, maybe these little sparkly guys too. Yeah, we'll see how these fit. So these are probably going to all go together. The heishis, these little flat spacers, and these sparkly rhinestone-y ball guys. I'll just have these guys all go together for one of my projects. All right. And I was right that these were pearls hiding inside of there. What a fantastic way to package this so the pearls don't get damaged in shipping or anything like that. These little bead caps, they just protected them really nicely for that. So we've got several of those. Again, we've got our floral bead cap, lucite beads, and I really liked the way that these were stacked together, so I'm probably going to do all of those together in the same way, but I might turn this little guy around like that to go into the bead frame when I do that. I think that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to be making some floral earrings. Where's the other? It's inside there. Okay. Some floral earrings using these and some of these beads. So that's going to be another pair of earrings. And I've got all of these other beads still left on that. I think with these two for the earrings, I'm going to use these sea glass bohos. Yes, perfect. I love the way that that's coming together. And then for this one, I'm going to use these guys and these sparkly pave or pave beads, and that's going to be this one here. So So 1, 2, it's going to be a bit of a dangle with a knot connector in the middle. I like that. I like that idea. All right, let me move these guys out of the way since I'm not using them for anything yet. Not in this project anyway. Just to show you what else is on there, we have these kind of clearish, almost jonquil colored crystal cubes, and then we have some tiny, the same color as rose quartz. It's that very soft baby pink. And then we have these two minty green pearls and these bead caps. So I'm going to set these over here with the extra leaf beads just right here in the corner so they're out of the way. And we are going to move these guys up here. I'm going to move these guys up here. And I'm going to show you on some new cord how I make this little knot. I'll just do it with the end of this cord, and I'm going to glue it in with y'all here, but then I'll make one of the earrings with you, and then I'm gonna let the glue dry before I make my second one. So that won't be on camera. I am going to, since I'm going to be using some glue, I'm going to put this down. It's just a piece of scrap paper to protect my bead mat when I work with the glue. But first, we're going to make the connector. And for this, I'm just going to make, it's a simple figure 8 knot. It's a super simple knot when you do paracord, or if you are into climbing or something, a double figure 8 is one of the most versatile climbing knots that you can use. But this also makes a good stopper knot, makes a good, it's just really easy, it's really simple, and I didn't want a super fancy knot as my connector since they're earrings and this is thick cord. We're going to do it this way. So what you do is you take your end and a little ways up there, and you can move this around if you need to. Give yourself plenty of room. See how well it curves around. But you want to go ahead and make one curve over like that. Then bring it under your working cord and around to the side, and then through that center loop that you just made, and that makes your figure 8 knot. And then you can just adjust it as you need. I want to leave this end pretty close to the top of my knot so that when I put my glue this on, it's not going to move around too much. So I'm going to be adjusting by just moving this. You can tighten it up and then pull that through there. There we go. And then give it a little pinch to help it flatten out. And there we go, you've got your knot. And for this, I'm going to need to cut this end about there. That's going to give me enough space to fit into my glue-in cap. And you can see right there where it's already started fraying. This is why you want a lighter. So I'm actually going to do both cut ends. Just melt that bit down with your lighter, pinch it together, and then it's ready for me to use in another project, and I can move this out of the way. And then for this end was already burnt, but this end wasn't, and you can tell because it's fraying. And if I tried to fit it into this cap, it's not going to fit well. I'd have to do a lot of shoving it in there. So again, the lighter is your best friend when you're working with cord like this. And this is just a little like candle lighter. You don't have to have like a thumb lighter if you don't have one. There we go. Actually, let's turn it upside down. That way. Bloop, bloop. All right, so to glue this on, I'm gonna grab my scrap paper. And my E6000, plus it's the low odor, so I don't have to even open a window for this to air it out. I am so glad I found this. I'll put a link to where I got this from as well in the description below if you are interested in it. I'm just gonna put a little dab. Oh, come on, buddy. The top kind of glued over. Let me find some scrap wire. Do I have some scrap wire I can use to remove this glued in end? Scrap wire wasn't doing it. It kept bending in my hand. So let's try it with this. Just gonna clean off this glue here on the end. Okay. Now I have an opening, so I can put up a little bubble of glue on the top. And I want that bubble of glue right here on the end of the cord. I'm doing the cord because that way I can stick the cord in there, and then I'm just going to twist it around a little bit so that it gets all the way in there. And then I'm going to leave that end alone, and we'll do the other end. Whoop, don't set it down, Bex. Not yet. Put that into the glue and end cap. Give it a little twist. Some excess glue there. And I'm going to leave this on this paper. I'm going to move the paper out of the way. I'm also going to clean this off before I close it. So I don't have to do that a second time. All right, glue is glued. I'm going to leave this for 24 hours. I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to set it aside somewhere where I won't get stuff placed on it so it can finish curing while we make our other earrings. All right, so for this, I already have this one that I made ahead of time. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I want to use one of my fancy silver head pins with a little bobble on the end to make a drop. So I'm going to put that right there on the bottom of this boho. And I'm just going to make a simple loop on this. I'm going to bend this over at a 90-degree angle. And then about a centimeter from that bend, I'm eyeballing it. Going to give it a good cut. And use my round nose pliers to roll that back. There we go. And now I've got myself a little loop right there at the bottom of my boho. I'm going to use my pliers to swing that open, that loop, and connect it to the loop on this glue-in end right here, because these glue-in ends have little loops on them. Whoop. Where you go, buddy? I might need to swing this open a little bit more. Oh. There we go. Now I could get to it. And use my pliers to close it. And then I've got some 20 gauge wire. I'm gonna make another simple loop on this end, and I make the loop before I make the bend in my wire to center it. See, it's not centered. And so if I just position these just below that loop and give it a little tug, then it centers it. Cut that off there. Put this guy on the top there. And then I do the bend before I make the loop for this top part. Yep, perfect. And then cut off all but 1 centimeter-ish. So I do the bend first and then the loop after I put on the bead. And we'll curl that up, and now I've got myself a little link, and I can swing that open, put it onto this loop. So like the hardest part of this really was making, where are you going, buddy? There we go. Making my little knot connector. And now I've got my sparkly knot earring. It's very dangly, and I love it. All right, I'm gonna set this aside and let's work on our next pair of earrings. I want it to be this rattan one. And again, like with the other, I'm just gonna do one earring with you, and then the other one on my own. All right, oop, there we go. So I've got some of these heishis, this sort of flat spacer, and this guy. I've got this guy right here, and this, and for this I'm going to be using 26 gauge and 20 gauge wire. So let's get some of the 26 gauge wire off of there. Actually, I don't think I'm going to be using this 20 gauge. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to use that for my flower earrings. For this, I'm just going to use the 26 gauge wire. So let me just pull off the spool about 7-8 inches, something I'm measuring with my heart for this. I'm just going to run this through my fingers to help get out some of those kinks before I take it off the spool. All right, let's find the middle. There we go. That's nice. Then I'm going to take one of these spaces right there in between these rattan weaves. I'm just going to put one end of this wire through one of those spaces. And then I'm going to bring it through the loop here so that they can be together on the other side. And this part's going to be a little bit tricky because I want the wire to be wrapped here. I just want to do a little twist right there. This will move a little bit as I reposition and readjust some things. And I'm going to slide both ends of this wire through this sparkly guy right there. It's going to sit right there at the very bottom of this. And then let's see if I need to add any of these other spacers after I put my flower boho on here. Do I? No, I just need my sparkly guy. I want to find a spot that's on the opposite side of this to go through. Wait a minute, maybe I do need a little bit of a spacer there. Let's try it. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. I'm going to put one of these light teal heishis, this flat spacer, and another teal heishi up top, like that. And nope, that doesn't fit. So why don't I take off the spacer? Okay. Yeah, that's gonna fit a little bit better. I want to make sure that this is centered. Once it is, I'm going to put one end of this 26 gauge wire through that hole on that side. Whoop, like that. This isn't attached to the top yet. It will be in a minute. When I find that little hole, and I'm going to put this end through that hole on this side. Actually, I think it might be this hole. Yep, that one. I can see light on the other side. Let's go through this side. Yes, perfect. Oop. Trying to get it through without too much kinking. Got a little bit of a kink there. Okay. And now let's get the other one through. I'm just going to try and follow that same path with the other wire to go through there. There we go. And I'm trying to make sure this one doesn't kink either. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tug on both of these. First of all, to help straighten it out. And second of all, to get this into place. Now that I've got these two wires together, I'm going to cross them over like that and do a little bit of a twist. And then squish them back together so that I can put this boho onto both of them. And slide it all the way down, like so. And now I just need to make a loop up here at the top that I can attach my ear wire to. This is extremely lightweight, but super impactful. So up here at the top, I'm going to grab both of my wires with my chain nose pliers and bend that over the top, and that'll give me some space down here to wrap with. Grab this guy, bring both of these wires around, rotate my pliers, and keep going all the way around. And then, just while it's still on here, I'm going to take both of these wires and wrap as much as I can all the way down to the bead. And then I'm going to start going back up so that I have a nice fat wrap. A nice fat wrap, and even onto that bead a little bit. There we go. Like that. Got these two ends with a little bit of excess wire. Gonna tuck in my little pokey outy bits. attach an ear wire. There you go. And that's earring number 2. Pretty great. I like it. Okay, earring number 3. This might seem a little bit familiar because I made a similar one with the Wildflowers Jesse James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box. But I loved that one so much that I am super happy to do it again with some other beads. So for this, I'm just going to stack those beads up in that order with the floral bead cap, the lucite bead, this filigree bead cap, and then this, what is this called? A flower bead? It looks like a flower, but I'm turning it the other way so that it's not faced open. And I'm going to use one of these little floral ended head pins that I got in that Wildflowers Magical Mystery Bead Box. I have looked for these other places. I cannot find them for sale. So I wish I could tell you where else you could get these, but I don't know. I'll put all of these on here. And then I'm going to pinch that end of that and bend this wire up there, like that. And right here on this wire, I'm going to make myself a loop. And this is really loose and it's kind of jangly dangly, but the next part is going to kind of get these guys where we want them for the rest of the earring. You can also, with this bead cap, you can bend it, you can pinch it if you want to so that it fits better with that, but this will tighten things up on this next step. I had to leave some space there for the next step. But before we do our loop, I want to leave that part straight. The next step is going to involve some of these leaf beads, like that. And this I'm using my 20 gauge wire for, and I'd like to start with, and I want to make sure that this is the same length for both of my earrings, so I'm going to cut off the same length of wire so that my second one will have the same length. This is about 5 inches of wire. Just, you know, if you need actual measurements. Again, sometimes I just measure with my sole. All right, so for each end of these, I want them cut flush. So this one's already flush cut. I'm going to do that on this side. And since I've got it right here with me, I'm going to do it on this side too and set this aside for when I make my second earring. And now I want a little loop on the end, and I want that loop to be big enough for this to swing wide. So I think I want to use my third step on my bail making pliers to make my loop. Bring it around till it touches that end. And this one's going to be a simple loop again. So let's get it centered and close it. Before I get it onto my leaf, I'm going to squish this flat and work hard in this loop with my pliers. You could use a hammer if you wanted to, but I find a good healthy squish with my pliers, the flat part, this thicker part, that usually does me for that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite end of that same wire. the same size loop. Come on, buddy. Wrong size. Centered and squished. All right. It doesn't matter like if they're perpendicular or anything like that. We can readjust them after we get them on, and we probably will. But I'm just going to go ahead and swing that open and add my leaf bead. And swing it closed like that. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Add a little leaf bead and swing that closed. And now I want to find the middle of this. So I'm going to take both of my leaves and bring them together. And it doesn't have to be the exact middle. In fact, it might actually be better if they're a little offset. So this is my short side, this is my long side. And I'm just going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to cross them over like this. And I want it to be a pretty tight loop. So I used the pointy end of my pliers closer to the tip. And now I'm going to slide this guy right on here. And this is going to sit back here like this, but I want to tighten this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be the fun part. So I'm going to hold this shorter end with my thumb, and I'm also holding my head pin. I'm going to take this longer end, and I am going to wrap it around as many times as I need to, as many times as I can, to get it to fit on that space there around this. It's like wire wrapping, but it's really, really fiddly. And I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Whoop. Need to go back here a little bit more. Okay, one more movement so that these guys are dangling a little bit more together. You can bend this wire if you want to give it some movement, or have it do that. There we go. Maybe I just want it to cross over back here. Just pushing with my thumb. There we go. Ta-da, like that. And now, to get it connected to its ear wire, I'm just gonna make a little loop here on the back with my round nose pliers. Loop, loop, loop. And then I'm going to cut off my excess. Right here, just the one wire. You can bend this a little bit closer. I want to get this ear wire in here, because this is how we wear it. And it's turned the wrong way. So let's try that again. like I said, we can turn these any way that we want after we get them on there. There we go. Earring. So there we have it. We have 1, 2, 3 earrings just made with a few of the bits and pieces from the summertime sunshine. I think it's sunshine. Yes, Sunshine USA collection from Jesse James Beads. I'll go ahead and make the second earring for each of these pairs before I upload this video. That way I can take pictures of all of them together. I'll talk to you later. Hope you're having a great weekend. Bye!